Classroom management can make or break your day as a teacher. But what does the research actually say about its connection to stress, burnout, and job satisfaction? I'm your host, Tay Tiger. Today's topic, how classroom management affects teacher well-being. And to guide us through this conversation, I'm joined by Dr. Kindergarten, an educator, classroom management coach, and researcher in teacher retention and emotional health. Kin, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Tay. I'm so glad to talk about this. It's one of the most impactful and sometimes overlooked parts of teacher wellness.
Let's start with the basics. Why does effective classroom management make such a big difference in teacher stress?
It's huge. Research by Edmund Emmer and Carolyn Everson shows that when teachers establish clear routines and expectations, it leads to fewer disruptions and less emotional fatigue. Their book, Classroom Management for Middle and High School Teachers, outlines how structure leads to smoother instruction and better emotional health for teachers. In a national survey by the American Federation of Teachers, 2017, 61% of educators reported that their work was always or often stressful, with lack of classroom control cited as a top factor.
What happens when classroom management doesn't go as planned?
That's where stress can turn into burnout. A 2009 study by Marilyn Chong found that chronic behavioral issues contribute to emotional exhaustion. And Einar Skalvik and Sidsel Skalvik backed that up. They found that poor classroom environments were directly linked to burnout and even teachers leaving the profession.
So, this isn't just a bad day at school, it's a long-term threat?
Exactly. Without support or tools, teachers start to feel helpless. That's when they consider walking away. Research by Skalvik and Skalvik in 2011 found that 31% of teachers experiencing poor classroom conditions considered leaving the profession within the next 5 years.
Let's talk about some solutions. How do systems like PBIS factor into this?
PBIS, or Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, shifts discipline from reactive to proactive. A study by Brandy Simonson, Sarah Fairbanks, Angela Breach, Diane Myers, and George Sugai showed that PBIS not only improved student behavior, but also lifted teacher morale. The key is reducing disruptions before they start, and that protects a teacher's emotional energy. Schools implementing PBIS with fidelity saw up to a 20% decrease in office disciplinary referrals.
Good stuff. You often talk about teacher confidence. How is that connected to classroom management?
That's what researchers Megan Channon-Moran and Anita Woolfolk call self-efficacy, your belief in your ability to manage and teach effectively. Their 2001 study showed that teachers with high self-efficacy experience less stress and feel more fulfilled. And here's the kicker. Training and coaching build that self-efficacy. Teachers with high self-efficacy are 50% less likely to report burnout symptoms compared to those with low efficacy.
Let's dig into something you mentioned earlier, relationships. What role do they play?
They're essential. Research by Robert Pianta, Bridget Hamra, and Joseph Allen found that positive student-teacher relationships reduce behavioral issues and serve as a protective factor for teacher stress. When students feel respected, they respond better. And when teachers feel connected, they're more emotionally resilient. A longitudinal study by Pianta and others found that strong student-teacher relationships were associated with a 40% decrease in classroom conflict.
Such great insight today. Before we go, what's one piece of advice you'd give to a teacher who's feeling overwhelmed by classroom behavior?
Start with small, consistent routines and build relationships first. Then seek out professional development. You don't have to do it alone, and your well-being is just as important as your students. And Robert Marzano? He said it straight. Good classroom management protects your energy so you can teach, not just survive.
Dr. Kindergarten, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you, Tay. Always a pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on Tiger TV. If this episode helped you, share it with a colleague or leave us a review. Remember, classroom management isn't just about control. It's about sustainability and joy in teaching.